Hey there folks, John here, and I have come across the biggest NES pickup of my life. And when I say the biggest pickup, this thing has consoles, it has hint books, we got complete in-box games, even some little, like, weird controller thing that I don't really know what it does. To be honest, I've been delaying on doing this video just because the sheer amount of stuff in this box is super intimidating, but I think I'm finally ready to go through it, so here we go. Alright, so like I said, the thought of doing this video has actually been pretty daunting for me. And, you know, really, I just wasn't quite sure how to approach having such a massive pickup like this. But I've kind of categorized everything, and we're going to go through the stuff, just kind of in categories, and try to work through it as fast as we can. I'm not going to spend a ton of time talking about each game like I usually do, because there's just so much stuff to get through. So without further ado, let's start with the controllers, because, well actually, you know what, let's start with the systems itself. So this system this pickup came with not one, but two original NESs, which is pretty cool. These things actually are pretty easily refurbishable, and I'll be able to get a decent amount out of them when I go back and sell them at, you know, basically just flip them, but in refurbished condition, having cleaned out the insides, everything else. The other thing that was kind of cool, just because I didn't have one before, this also came with a Hyperkin Retron console. This is the Retron 1, which is kind of just a cool thing to have on the shelf. I mean, the emulation isn't amazing. It's definitely software emulation on this thing, but it does work, and it's just kind of a cool thing to have. So, came with the controllers and all the hookups for that too. Next, everybody knows NESs usually come with controllers and the light zapper and stuff. Not really going to go into that. There's a box of that stuff over there it came with. But two interesting things that it did come with was a flight stick controller, which is really, really clicky, which is kind of cool. And so the select and the start buttons are right here, and it's got auto fire back here, which is kind of cool. I've never seen this particular controller before. I'll do that just to let you guys see it. It's called the Quick Shot. So it was kind of cool to get this. This will be a good shelf piece. Not quite sure that I'll use it a lot, because generally I find flight sticks for NES games to be pretty superfluous. They're not really that useful. But the one that really interested me was this weird super controller shell. And what this is, let me unwrap this NES controller here. This is one of the ones from the pickup and has a terribly tangled cord. But what this thing is it basically just goes over your NES controller like this. Snaps closed, and then gives you a little joystick kind of thing going on. Kind of a cool little thing. Ooh, this controller's looks like a dog got a hold of the start and select buttons. Anyways, kind of a cool little thing. I'm interested to try this out on something like Marble Madness or something where it's supposed to emulate more of that arcade feel anyway. So I may slap this on my controller, maybe do a Let's Play of Marble Madness with this thing just for fun for the channel, and post that. So keep an eye out for that. Alright, next I'll go ahead and get into the books. So this pickup actually came with several hint books, which was pretty cool. You don't really get a lot of these that are still in good condition these days. This came with 4 of them. We've got the Nintendo Greatest Secrets, Greatest Tips, and of course you got Battletoads there on the front. I mean, how could you go wrong with Battletoads on the front? Tips, strategies, passwords, and other secrets for over 200 games. So anyway, so you got your screenshots in here. These things are just really fun to look through. I really enjoy it. I might do a couple videos, or maybe a video on these 4 things, just kind of look inside, which will be kind of fun. You have How to Win at Nintendo Games 3 and How to Win at Nintendo Games 4. Apparently, this is a series, and these 2 are the harder ones to find of the series. I mean, all of them are pretty cheap. I think this one goes for like, or these 2 go for like $8-9 on eBay, whereas the first 2 go for like $3. But still, these kinds of things are really fun to find. And these actually don't look like they have any screenshots in them. It's kind of like the novel form of a player's guide. I'm not sure how useful that would be, but maybe I can read it like a novel. I don't know. The last one is Tricks of the Nintendo Masters, with this cool 80s artwork on it. So, oh, look at that. We do have some pictures in this one, so that's great. There's a lot of games in here. Let's see, what do we got? Do we have a little Nemo in here? Oh, Adventures of Lolo. That's a good game. Oh, there's some Game Boy games in here, too. Castlevania Adventure. Anyways. Oh, wait. I just saw something interesting. Oh, look at this. These were the testers for the book. I don't know if you guys can see that. Let me see if I can make my camera focus on it real quick. They used children to test out the stuff in the book. Look at that. How nice. Alright, so next let me just go ahead and get the complete in-box games out of the way. There might be a couple that I'll hold off until the very end just because those are kind of the cooler ones, but just to get you an idea, we have a few. We have the Wheel of Fortune Family Edition, over 1,000 new puzzles, which is kind of fun. I mean, it's Wheel of Fortune. It's a super cheap game, but hey, it's kind of fun. You know, it's another complete in-box for the shelf. We have Silent Service, which is an extremely common game, but this one actually has the instruction booklet with it, and I believe it had... nope, this one didn't have any other inserts. But anyways, Silent Service, there you go. And then Monopoly. So there's a funny story about this Monopoly. When I got this thing, it was like bulging. It was like out like that far, with stuff just crammed in there. And interestingly enough, this game is complete. It does have everything in it, which is cool. So you've got your Nintendo insert, and then you've got your Monopoly instruction manual, which is fine. But, hold on a minute. Wait, if I can get this closed. Okay. It also had a bunch of other stuff in it. One of those things was the instruction manual for The Adventures of Lolo. Now here's the interesting thing about that. The Adventures of Lolo is not even one of the games in this pickup at all. So at some point, somebody had Adventures of Lolo, got rid of it, but the manual somehow ended up in the Monopoly box and it traveled to me, which is pretty cool because I have a copy of Adventures of Lolo and I don't have the manual for it, so I'm okay with this. But anyways, a little bit beat up, but hey, now I've got the Adventures of Lolo manual from a Monopoly box. The other fun thing I found in there was the instruction manual for the Monopoly. Now, the sharp-eyed among you will notice that's not Monopoly for the NES. That's Monopoly for the PlayStation. So there's a poor PlayStation version of Monopoly out there that's missing its manual because I have it from my NES box. And then otherwise, we just have a bunch of inserts. I'll actually probably look at the insert database online and try to use these to complete some of this for some of the boxed copies that I have. Because we have Konami ones, we have Milton Bradley ones, we've got the regular Nintendo ones. We've got a lot of these inserts, and these things are great for if you've got boxed games that either just have the manual or don't have anything at all. It can help, complete those things. You just have to look up the link to the database online, and I forget where that is. I think it's actually on GameFAQs somewhere. All right, so now we're gonna go rapid fire through all the games. Now, before I do that, let me just show you the listing for this thing that I found on Facebook. Basically, this guy was selling pretty much his entire collection just because he needed money. Now, in this listing, it says there's 150 plus games. Being that he just handed me a big crate of games when I got there for the trade-off, I didn't bother to count them because it looked about like 150 to me. It ended up being a little bit over 120 games, which for what I paid is still more than fair, especially with the consoles and all the accessories and the books and everything else that came with it. But and I'll go over what I paid at the beginning of or at the end of the video and break it down into a cost per game kind of scenario. But basically, this thing popped up, and you guys know, if you watch my pickups, I usually buy in lots because it lets me get games more cheaply. And I'm actually going to do a video on how to get games cheaply and not actually have to pay market value for them, or the what I would say is the inflated market value. But anyways, this was a really good opportunity to do that. So that's where this came from. This was just a massive pickup from a Facebook group, and they're great places to find stuff. But without further ado, let's get into the games. I'm going to rapid fire through these, and I'll mention if it's one that I didn't already have. There are quite a few in here that I didn't have. But let's get started. First, we have Legend of Zelda. It's the gold version. This one's super beat up. It's got some smoke damage to it. And if you guys didn't know, a little bit of trivia for you. That black part right there, these gold cartridges are actually black underneath. If you scrape away the gold like varnish that's on the top, they're a black cartridge. So you could actually technically scrape away all the gold and have a black version of Zelda, which would actually be pretty sweet. But as you can see, this one's not in great shape. I'll probably just package it with a system because it's just easy to, just one of those that I can just throw in to sweeten a deal. And then now I'm going to start rapid firing through these. So we have Castlevania. We have, let me make sure that my focus is good. Okay, got my focus reset. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2. Mighty Bomb Jack. If you've never played Mighty Bomb Jack, great little puzzle game, platformer, puzzle game. We got Major League Baseball, super common. Classic Concentration, based on the game show. Never actually watched the game show, but interestingly enough, this is actually a relatively valuable game for those game show games. Back to the Future, not a great game. Gyromite, not really any good without Rob, but yeah. Rad Racer 2. This is a rare game. Not rare like it's hard to find, but a rareware game. Wrath of the Black Mana, one of the most underrated cheap games you can find. Tiny Toon Adventures, with personal favorite. Excitebike. Tecmo Super Bowl, which is more valuable than the regular Tecmo Bowl. Dragon Spirit, a fantastic shoot 'em up. Marble Madness, a little bit faded, but I'm sure it still works. Rolling Thunder, and the interesting thing about Tengen games, the manuals are really, really long and annoying to store. Another LJN game, which, by the way, LJN is kind of synonymous for suck, but this is the Karate Kid, not a great game. Super Mario Bros. 3, because no pickup would be complete without Super Mario Bros. 3. Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, can't go wrong with that. Another LJN movie tie-in, Jaws, never played it, probably not any good. Ikari Warriors 2, this one's a bit beat up, but this is a great game. The Simpsons, Bart vs. the World, from what I understand, this is the good NES Simpsons game. Metal Gear, kind of hard to play now, but it started the series. Gumshoe, great little light gun game. Ren and Stimpy Buckaroos, great graphics, not much else is great. Got some ice hockey. Strider, this is a port of the arcade game, not amazing, but decent. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Bad Dudes, really dirty Bad Dudes. Really beat up Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The original Ikari Warriors. World Class Track Meet. I have the bundled version of this in the power set back there. Another Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2. Commando. Underrated game. And Karnov of Karnovember fame, if you followed that last year. X-Men. Really wanted to like this game. Really didn't like this game. Kid Nicky, the Radical Ninja. This was a fun one to play. I actually streamed this one about a week ago. Mickey Mouse Capade, my 4-year-old's favorite NES game. Codename Viper, this is actually a Rolling Thunder clone, and it's a pretty good one. Rampage, one of my favorite NES games. NASCAR, not much to say about that. Castle Quest, didn't have this one before, pretty excited to have it. The Hunt for Red October. Iron Sword, Wizards and Warriors 2. Great game. The grossest Contra I've ever seen in my life. Look at that thing. See that? See how yellow that is? It's terrible. Pro Wrestling. This was a label upgrade for me, so pretty happy about it. Ice Hockey. Ice Hockey with a rattle. DuckTales. Always a classic. Punch-Out. And this is the Mike Tyson variety. Unfortunately, it's pretty dirty. Maybe a candidate for retro restoration, this one. Stealth. A worse version of Top Gun. Another copy of The Karate Kid. Another Castle Quest. Home Alone, got some label damage. Trojan, a really underrated game. Another classic Concentration. Kung Fu Heroes, if you've never played this game, give it a shot. It's a really good one. Talking Super Jeopardy. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't curious. Another Castlevania. This one with writing on the back. Zoda's Revenge, Star Tropics 2. Really underrated game. Everybody knows about the first one. Hardly anybody knows about this one. And it's a shame. Golf. I didn't have this one. Another Iron Sword, Wizards and Warriors 2 with that guy on the front, and I don't remember his name. RC Pro-Am, excellent racing game. Orb, 3D. Shadowgate, fantastic point and click. Galaga, the Demons of Death. Got a Mario Duck Hunt here. Tetris. I didn't have this game. Jeopardy, 25th Anniversary Edition. RoboCop 2, never heard of it, kinda curious. Millipede, another arcade port. Vindicators, a Tengen tank game. It's not that great. Section Z, don't really know much about this one. Jeopardy! Junior Edition. Whoever had this really liked Jeopardy! Kung Fu! Superman for the NES. One of the worst NES games from what I understand. Gonna have to do a Let's Play of this one. Caesar's Palace. Gauntlet. A Tengen game that's not in a Tengen cart. Demon Sword. Don't know much about this one. Kinda curious though. Faxanadu. Love this game, and this is in almost mint condition. Top Gun, the second mission. And Stealth, which, as I said, is like a worse Top Gun. Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link, and this gold cartridge is actually in pretty good shape, unlike the Zelda 1. Another Rad Racer 2. Rygar, with the manual. Cabal. I don't know much about this game. Castlevania 2. Simon's Quest, everybody's favorite whipping boy. Donkey Kong 3, didn't have this one, been looking for it, so pretty excited to have it. Bionic Commando, great game if you haven't played it, really hard though. Russian Attack, this one was actually part of the Big 20 a couple weeks ago. Tecmo Bowl, didn't have this one before, had Super Bowl, didn't have the original. Spy vs. Spy, great Mad TV game. Wizards and Warriors, fantastic game. Defender of the Crown, never really played it before. And The Immortal. Now, I'll stop for this one because this is one of the weirdest games you will ever play. And I didn't have it, so I'm actually pretty excited about this one. Wheel of Fortune, because whoever this was liked their game show games. To the Earth. Silent Service, this one's out of the box though. Metroid, because everybody loves Metroid. Super C, in much better shape than that Contra. Capcom Classic, Ghost and Goblins, 1942. Hogan's Alley, another light gun game. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3. The Manhattan Project, this is my personal favorite of the trilogy. Racket Attack and Baseball Simulator 1000. Two sports games whose titles are trying too hard. Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Probably the only LJN game that's actually playable. And another Rygar. Adventures in the Magic Kingdom with the manual. Dr. Mario with the manual for The Adventure of Link. Interesting thing about this manual, you'll notice the back cover is actually been replaced with cardboard right there. I don't know if you can see that, with duct tape on the back. And the front is glossy. That's not from foil from the manual. That is because it's covered in Scotch tape. Tailspin, which is a fantastic Disney-based shmup, which came from Capcom. And despite it being a shmup, it definitely feels like a Capcom NES game. It's kind of amazing. Chris Evert and Ivan Lindell in Top Players Tennis. The most needlessly long title for an NES game in history. Another Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, Bases Loaded, and Pinball. And that'll about do it for most of the pickups, but I've saved the best for last. There were a couple things that I saw in the pictures of this pickup that made me really, really want to pull the trigger on that purchase. First of all, we've got Castlevania Dracula's Curse, which is a fantastic game in its own right, but this thing came with an absolutely pristine manual. I've never seen a manual look this good in a pickup that I've gotten ever. It looks like it just came off the printing press, so pretty cool. Similarly, we've also got a Super Mario Bros. 2, which is pristine, but it, more importantly, has a manual that is absolutely pristine. And this one was especially important to me because I have Super Mario Bros. 2 in box right here, but I didn't have the manual for it. So now I have a really good copy of Mario Bros. 2, a really good manual, and we're in good shape. Next, we've got a few CIB games that I haven't shown yet, and first of all, we've got a complete in-box Super Mario Bros. 3, which is pretty cool. It's got everything in it, but I already had one, so this is actually an extra I'll probably end up selling. Next, we have a complete in-box Castlevania 2 Simon's Quest, which is pretty awesome. It only has the manual in it, so it's not technically fully complete, but I can probably find the inserts to make it a complete box, so this is a pretty cool pickup as well. And lastly, we have one that really made me want to buy this when I saw the pictures, because I had this version of Zelda growing up, and the difference between this version of Zelda and another one is that the original version of Zelda is a gold cartridge, but this is actually a gray one, and this is the version that I had growing up because I didn't discover Zelda for the NES until I had already played Zelda Link's Awakening on the Game Boy, which I have back there somewhere. But I didn't really play these original Zeldas until after I already discovered it there, but by that time they had stopped making the gold carts, and this was all that's left. Well, I had this version of the game, and I kept the game with all the paperwork and everything else, including the map that went with it, but at some point in college, my mom threw away a lot of my NES boxes, and this was one of them. So this is actually a really cool one for me, because I kind of get to recomplete a piece of my childhood with this particular box. So that was a really, really cool part of this pickup. And the last two things I have are just two loose games, but when I saw them on the shelves, it really made me want to pick this thing up. The first one is one called Race America, and it's this rare, really weird racing game. It's not bad for the NES, but again, I'm not a huge fan of racing games in general for the NES. But this one's interesting because all the characters are based on super stereotypes. It's just one of those odd pieces of NES history that's just kind of cool to own. So this was a really cool one for me to pick up. It usually runs anywhere between $40 and $60 on eBay. I don't think it's actually worth that money, so I would never pay market value for this, but to have it, just to have it, is actually a really cool thing. And the last game that really made me pick this up, and the second that I saw it on the shelf, that was the thing that made me pull the trigger, is a game called Monster in My Pocket. Now, I've been on the hunt for a good copy of this ever since I saw Retro Revelations let's play through this thing on his channel. And as soon as I saw it, as soon as I heard the music, I knew it was a game that I was really going to love. But it's actually really hard to find because it was a late release for the NES and there weren't that many of them made. I mean, it only costs about $40-50 for a loose copy on eBay. So it's not that expensive of a game, but it is really hard to find at a decent price. So I was really excited about this one. And of everything in this pickup, I think this is the thing that I'm the most excited about. So that's about it for this pickup. Now, I said that I was going to break down the finances later on in the video, so now that the time has kind of come. So out of this entire box, there were 120 plus games, you know, in various states, some a few CIB, a lot of them with manuals, a lot of them just loose carts. There was 3 systems, 2 regular NESs, and then 1 Retron HD, or not HD, just regular Retron. There was all the accessories, there was all the hint books and everything else, and for all of that I paid about $400. Now that sounds like a lot of money, but when you break it down and you don't even count the systems or the hint books or any of the accessories themselves, you just break it down by games, that means that the games themselves would have cost about $3.33 a piece. Now, you would, for any of these games in here, most of them would sell for more than that in any retro shop. So it's pretty cool that I was able to get all of these games for so cheaply. And you don't, that's not even accounting for all the systems and everything else. Now, the reality is that I recondition these systems and I'm able to flip them and sell them. I always sell them for pretty well below market value, and I should be able to pretty much break even on this pickup. And out of all the games, out of those 120 games, I have about 50 of them that are actually new to me that I didn't have before. And I have about 10 or 12 of them that are going to be either label upgrades, instructor manuals I didn't have before to be able to complete things, or just straight up new complete in-box games that I may have had the loose cartridge for, but now I've actually got the box and all the inserts for. So this is actually a really good pickup for me, and it actually should really help bolster the collection. Now, I know that not everybody has $400 to drop on this sort of thing, and I didn't either at first, and I'll actually do a video here in the near future kind of saying, or kind of telling how I started doing what I'm doing now, and how I'm able to collect these things this way and bind these lots. But until then, I hope you guys enjoyed what you saw, and, you know, have you run into any of these games before? If you have, let me know. Did you get them for cheaper than me? I just want to talk about it because that's why I make these videos. So, you guys know the drill. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.